more I've sat with this movie and the more I've thought about it and the more I've just consulted my notes from the screening last night, my consensus on MaXXXine is unfortunately that it's basically a nothing movie with nothing substantial to offer the audience, and just it's kind of a waste of time, honestly. Now, this is the third entry to Ti West's beloved franchise and follows MaXXXine Minx as she moves to Hollywood to try to gain roles in prominent films, but her past comes back to haunt her as a mysterious killer threatens and stalks those closest to her. Now, I'm not a fan of this series. I don't think X is particularly well made. I think Pearl is decent, but I don't think it reaches the expectations that most people have. I know this series has like a beloved fan base. I've never understood the appeal, but if you like love this series, I get it. Like, you know, that's your thing. So this was very highly anticipated for most people. A lot of people were walking in, they said this was going to be like really like highly anticipated, it was going to be really good, and it's just not that at all. I think the consensus on Ti West as a filmmaker for me is that I've understood that he has a lot of style. He's a capable director in terms of style. Like the aesthetic of this film is by far the best part. In terms of substance, I just don't think he's there, because I think he's great at style, but substance-wise, his scripts lack so much depth, so much character arc, so much clarity that it really just confuses the audience. It makes this like jumbled mess of ideas all struggling for air. And I definitely think that's the case here. I think A24 should have definitely taken a step back during the pre-production process when they got the script in the first place, and they kind of should have just told Ti West like, hey man, you might want to revise this like 1 or 2 more times, because even with those revisions, it would have been a way better film than it ends up being, because there's so many glaring problems with this. Because I feel like if they had read the script at least one more time and gone through it and revised it at least once more, a lot of the problems that are still in this film would have been like fixed. Like they wouldn't even have existed in the final product of the film, but they didn't, and they're just so in your face that you can't even like ignore them. I'm genuinely struggling to even think how they let this unfinished of a movie go into production. It's so glaring. It's not even like just subtle. It's just so in your face. Mia Goth is fine, but the rest of the cast appears so infrequently and for so little periods of screen time that their performances aren't even like worth mentioning. Like I know it's like an extremely talented cast, but they show up for like a scene or two and then they dip again. It's just like their performances, while they're fun, they feel like cameos. They don't feel like actual set characters. They don't feel like they have any like depth or clarity or emotional character arcs. They just show up for a scene and they disappear again. So I can't speak on their performances. They're fun. You know, I can't judge them. I will say though that Kevin Bacon is easily the best or second best character in this film besides Mia Goth. His villain is so fun, and as mentioned, because it's Ti West, you know, the vibe and the aesthetic are there. It really captures this grimy and retro feel of 80s Hollywood to a T. It really enthralls you into that time period and setting and really makes you feel like you're there. And the setup with the opening audition scene with MaXXXine and the first 30 minutes where it like sets up the setting and the characters are very fun. It's a very fun opening act. It's just the rest of the film doesn't live up to that. The film just does nothing after that point, and it really frustrates me because it just gets weaker as it goes on, and that should not be the case in a film like this. With a horror thriller like this, you should actually be engaged as it goes along, be thrilled, be horrified, be like really on edge, but there's not a drop of tension to be found here. In fact, it's like one of the most straightforward films ever. For a horror film or a thriller film, whatever you want to call this, it has like zero like stakes. It has zero tension. Like what are we supposed to, as audience members, supposed to actually feel for these characters? Like there's nothing scary happening. And that plot twist, it's just laughably bad. It's one of the worst plot reveals I've seen in a film probably in a while. You will have to see it to believe it. I can't even just like tell you, even if this was a spoiler review, you probably wouldn't believe me if I told you. It's just you gotta witness it for yourself to understand how weak thematically that plot twist actually works for the overall film. I genuinely couldn't believe that was the direction they went to. Like I genuinely thought it was ridiculous as I went along, and I was just like, are they actually doing this? And then the ending played out in the last 30 minutes played out, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're actually doing this. I was right. It just turns so formulaic and generic and predictable, and the lack of any real stakes or tension makes this so straightforward and generic that you really like struggle to understand what the point is or why this should even serve as a solid conclusion to this franchise. Overall, it just feels rushed and unfinished and just not, you know, up to par. It feels extremely disappointing given the high expectations that are associated with the series, and it definitely doesn't serve as a definite or even like solid conclusion to this franchise as a whole. That's why I'm giving MaXXXine a 40 out of 100. MaXXXine releases in theaters everywhere this Friday, July 5th. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. If you're new to my channel, as always, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below, like the video, and turn on push notifications to be notified whenever new videos drop on my channel. With that being said, this is Mitchell signing off till next time. Peace out.